This week's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/DJForceX. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. This episode of the DJ Force X podcast is proudly sponsored by Fixed. Fixed is a fan and artist-friendly independent record label that specializes in hybrid electronic rock. It's home to the likes of Celduella, Blue Starly, I Will Never Be the Same, Richie Nix, The Algorithm, Voicians, CD Akira, and a whole bunch more. Check out their latest label sampler for just $1 at their official store, fixedstore.com. That's FIXT store.com. Save 10% off your first order by using my coupon code FORCEX. That's FORCEX. They have loads of shirts, hoodies, stickers, posters, and many other accessories for all their artists, and this is available worldwide with fantastic international shipping rates to go with that. So head over to fixedstore.com and check them out. And don't forget, use my coupon code FORCEX. Hello and welcome to the DJ Force X podcast, episode 49. Closing in on that half century right now. Anyway, this week's episode, I got Riley. He is the front man from the band Allegaeon. They have a new album out on the 23rd of September called Proponent For Sentience. It is on Metal Blade Records and it will be available worldwide on that date. So yeah, that's awesome. Great news this week. I think I mentioned it on a previous show, but I've been given another radio show. So along with Crossing the Streams, which is every Tuesday, 11 p.m. UK time on TotalRock.com, or on Saturdays at midnight on the Mix.fm, that is on the East Coast time midnight, so it's about 5 a.m. in the UK. Anyway, on Total Rock, it's called DJ Force X in Conversation. So yeah, it's going to be on Sundays. It's going to go out at 6 p.m. UK time on Total Rock. It's going to repeat on Fridays at 11 a.m. on Total Rock as well, which actually the repeat time of my Crossing the Stream show is actually midday on Friday as well. So you're going to get me back to back on Fridays if you're in the UK and listening. But it's going to be up on there. I'm going to put it up on demand as well. But essentially, it is my podcast, but kind of edited up on the interviews front and with music as well. Speaking of music, I am going to try and get the correct licensing to have music played on the show. Just trying to figure out how to raise the funds. Obviously, use my sponsors if you can, because that brings me in a little bit of change here and there if you do use them. If not, I might see how people feel about, a bit of crowdsourcing. It's like $300 for the year, my current download rate and monetary income with it. So yeah, this is Riley from Allegaeon. Enjoy. On this week's show, I have Riley McShane. He is the vocalist from the band Allegaeon. They're about to release their fourth studio album, Proponent of Sentience, which is out on the 23rd of September via Metal Blade Records. Welcome, Riley.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing today?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Cool. So, Allegaeon, they originally formed back in 2008. But you've only been with the band for about a year now. Is that right? Or just under a year?
That is true.
Cool.
That is correct.
So you replaced the original vocalist from the band.
Yes.
How did that come about? What were you doing prior to this?
So I've worked with a couple other bands in the metal scene. Two of which from Unique Leader Records, Continuum and Inanimate Existence, and one of which released an album independently. The band Son of Aurelius. And my work with those bands is kind of what got me the position in Allegaeon. Greg Burgess, the guitar player, is a big fan of the album I did with Son of Aurelius and the vocal work that's on there. So, about a year ago, he contacted me to fill in for vocals on a tour while the previous vocalist Ezra took care of a few things in his personal life. Okay. And then after that, a few things transpired between them, and once the agreement for separation came about, I just kind of was offered the position through an audition and got the job.
Nice, cool. So how's it been for you so far?
It's been awesome, man. It's been so much fun. Writing and recording and doing the tours with them. Definitely different from anything else that I've done with music before, to be certain.
Cool. So the new album, Proponent of Sentience, is that how it's pronounced?
Proponent For Sentience, yeah.
For Sentience, sorry. My bad.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll write that down. There we go. Proponent For Sentience. Sorry, my bad. So it's due out in in exactly a month's time as of recording this. How did you find writing that album?
It was great. It's the first concept album that Allegaeon has done. Mm-hmm. So being able to be a part of that creative process was really cool because they're kind of they were already a relatively established band before I joined, but still being able to work with them in a writing process that none of them had embarked on was awesome. Yeah. Like I said, it's something that's I've never really done before in music. With Inanimate Existence, the album I did with them was also a concept album, but I didn't actually do any of the writing for that. I just lent them my voice and performed vocals in the studio, as well as a few shows. But being able to write out a concept, and cognize all the details and make everything glued together was a lot of fun and was challenging in the best kind of way as a writer.
Cool. And what is the story running through the album?
So it starts off with the concept of scientists embarking on a journey to create artificial intelligence that is capable of experiencing consciousness. The Proponent for Sentience, there's a sonata of 3 parts that kind of punctuates the album at the beginning, the center, and at the end. And between those punctuations are little details that kind of serve as connective tissue between them. So cool. There's lots of ideas involving philosophy, psychology, a little bit of sociology thrown in there. Nice. Towards the back half. Yeah, and it's really fun.
Yeah, no, I was going to say there's a couple of really cool tracks on the album that I really enjoyed. I've been listening to it a couple of days now. It's been on rotation with me. Terra Thor and the Quake is a really cool track. I like.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries. And the Proponent tracks you're talking about, part 2 and 3, Algorithm and Extermination, fantastic tracks. And the one that I saw a playthrough video of, or actually a sort of kind of playthrough video, it was very entertaining. The Grey Matter Mechanics.
Yeah.
All those tracks, fantastic. And they're all kind of different styles as well, because when I put it through my system, it comes through as death metal, essentially. So I was kind of expecting one thing, but got something completely like what I wasn't expecting. Because there are so many different elements within the sound. Especially interweaved with the Grey Matter Mechanics, the Spanish guitar type stuff at the start and floating out at the end. And it was just awesome. And then watching the video you did for that with the guest vocalist as a sock puppet, which was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, no, I mean the album's really strong. I mean it kind of took me by surprise because I've been listening to a lot of sort of death metal, black metal. I've been getting sent through from various labels and obviously getting interviews set up with people like yourselves. But yours really kind of it was all very different. It had death metal at one point, melodic parts in another, sort of classic metal sounds as well. How would you describe your sound?
I'd say that if you were to throw it into one category, it would be melodic death metal for sure. But yeah, like you said, we try to experiment with different styles while not straying too far off the beaten path that Allegaeon has set for themselves with past records, but never growing stale with the style. We always are, trying to do new things and expand our sound as we grow as musicians, which I feel is very evident on the new record. Speaking from a musical perspective, having only been involved as a vocalist on this one record, it's kind of a jumping off point for me. But having been a fan of Allegaeon before actually being a member of the band, listening to the musical growth from album to album is always very evident in their back catalog. Between Fragments of Form and Function and Form Shifter was a noticeable progression, and same thing between Form Shifter and Elements. But I feel that musically, the progression between Elements of the Infinite and Proponent for Sentience is definitely the largest margin as far as their musical prowess and their ability as songwriters.
Yeah.
And just even the chemistry of the band as well. With Michael Stansel on guitar, he's had a lot more of an opportunity to write songs for this album than he had on Elements, and the chemistry created between he and Greg is fantastic. So seeing that kind of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it is quite evident, like you said, between albums and the progression in the songwriting and everything. Because I went back, because I, going to be honest, I hadn't heard of you guys prior to this. And listening to this album, I went back and listened to your previous stuff, obviously in sort of preparation for this interview and everything. Obviously a bit of research, Wikipedia, all the usual spots. But yeah, no, the progression in sound is very evident between the albums, and obviously with your vocal stylings on this one as well, it does add, and the musicianship through them has been fantastic. And then watching the videos that I've seen online, watching them play is crazy. It's just a lot of musicianship. A lot of talent. There you go. There's the word. That's what I was looking for. There's a lot of talent on show with those videos. And speaking of your videos, I mean, they're brilliant. Like, you get the playthrough videos, and then it starts off your sort of standard playthrough, and then you just throw these elements in, like the track for the Grey Matter, what I said with the sock puppet with your guest vocalist on there.
Yeah.
And then the other playthrough video, I can't remember what it was for. It might have been the Extermination, the part 3.
Yeah.
And you're like, the guy's feeding him while he's playing, and going to the bathroom and things like that. It was just, it's nice to see a band kind of like of that talent, of your talent, and you still have the kind of the sense of humor that you need.
Yeah. I mean, we
take yourself seriously.
It's important, to be able to, let the music speak for itself, and still be able to be ourselves, while we're playing the music. Because none of us are tough guy metalheads. We're all just a bunch of goofballs. when we're hanging out together, so we don't ever really feel the need to, put on that kind of that face for the camera, so to speak. When we're making videos or filming playthroughs, we still like to try to capture our we've let our individual personalities bleed into the collective personality of the band, which is, take what you do seriously, not yourself.
Yeah. And it works, because I, listening to the music straight out, like, it's the first thing I do, and you do kind of build a persona in your head of the kind of person they might be, or musician they might be. But then watching those videos changed that for me. just sort of seeing that, like, that side of you guys that you don't often see with these bands. It was brilliant. I just want to applaud you on those videos. It was fantastic. So, and anyone listening, go check them out. They're great. And obviously check out the album as well. What are your plans, sort of pre and post the release of this album?
Well, we're just kind of working on releasing singles, videos, playthroughs up until the album comes out. We have a couple concerts lined up before and after the release of the album. We have a tour that's been announced with Max and Igor Cavalera from Sepultura fame.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're going to be playing a 20th anniversary run of their album Roots.
Yes.
So we'll be joining them for a good portion of the dates on that throughout North America and Canada with other bands such as Combi Christ, Black Dahlia Murder, Oni, and others. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
And then we have another tour that has not been announced just yet.
Okay.
Across North America during the November-December period of time.
Nice. Do you know if you're doing the St. Petersburg date for the Cavalera tour?
We are not,
okay.
Unfortunately.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So that's my local area. So
I feel you.
I saw they were playing, and I was like, cool. So I saw Combi Christ on the bill, but I wasn't sure if you guys were on that show or not. So
yeah,
right,
no,
cool.
Unfortunately.
All right, no worries. I'll check you out when you come around this way then. So.
Yeah,
cool.
I think definitely for that November-December tour, we'll be in that area.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll keep an eye out for it, and try and make that show. So, I've got a couple of questions left.
Yeah, of course.
Just sort
fire
of
away.
The couple of ones I normally ask every musician or artist, whoever I bring on the show. Your 3 top albums that kind of mold the musician stroke person that you are today.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Narrowing it down to just the 3.
Uh-huh.
The first one that comes to mind, one of the albums that really got me into metal or extreme music in general is In Defiance of Existence by Old Man's Child.
Yeah.
Great album, front to back. The musicians that played on that one are really incredible. Nick Barker on drums in particular, I think is what really captured my attention with that album. And then, I kind of was sold on the symphonic structure at the time. Mm-hmm. I had been listening to bands, like Cradle Filth and Dimmu Borgir, and a friend of mine was like, "Oh, if you like Dimmu, you should check out their guitarist's other project, Old Man's Child." And I was just I just fell in love, like, right off the bat.
Nice.
Vocally, I'd say one of my more formative albums was Informis, Infinitus and Humanitas from Origin. Mm-hmm. James is, his vocal performance on that album was just absolutely incredible. As well as Paul, the guitar player, dropping in his highs here and there. But, that kind of gave me something to strive for as a vocalist when I first heard it. I, at the time was listening to, albums that are also very vocally influenced, that were, like bands like Spawn of Possession. Mm-hmm. I was listening to a lot of Cabinet, which, has that same very gruff, technical vocal style. But then I heard Informis and was just like, man, this like really hits all the bases.
Nice.
Oh God. For my number one metal album, it's really a toss up. I'd say between Cryptopsy's None So Vile and Psychroptic's Scepter of the Ancients.
Nice.
Yeah, both of those albums are just so good, all around. But as a vocalist, I'm obviously a little bit biased towards the vocal performance that really caught me on both those records.
Yeah.
Lord Worm lyrically is just a genius. His utilization of English and French across the lyrical themes of those albums is absolutely incredible. And his vocal range and capability is, so stylized, like no one else sounds like him.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Chalky, Matthew Chalk from Psychroptic. especially on Scepter of the Ancients and all the little vocal tricks and isms that he kind of, pioneered with that record. So cool. So cool. Some people are like, oh, frog vocals and this and that, but I completely disagree. I think that they are so neat, especially as a vocalist, trying to emulate some of the things that he has done on that album.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's like, it's so his, like just his little thing. And I think that being, that kind of innovative is so rare in metal these days that, when it happens, it is really amazing. Yeah. I mean, I guess that album came out damn near 15 years ago at this point, but it still resonates as one of my favorites.
Nice. I mean, it's nice to hear like on from a vocal point of view, because like you said, you get a lot of people like you say frog vocals sound like Kermit strangling Fozzie Bear or whatever, and it's like I hear that a lot because I've been in previous bands and stuff, and we had like screamy vocals in there, and you get that sort of criticism of it. But when people listen to, if they could analyze it, they would hear like yourself, you heard elements that were kind of there that a lot of people will brush over. Like I'm quite a fan of the kind of like high pitch scream, kind of Judas Priest.
Oh, yeah.
Style, like that kind of like high, kind of almost Axl Rose as well on the sort of melodic front. And there was a couple of bands from England. One band called Medulla Nocte, and the vocalist in that, his name is Paul Catton, and I've been a big fan of his for a long time. He's got a very high pitched voice, and like from the offset, it's just a very high pitched voice. A lot of people saying, it's ear piercing, kind of stuff like that. But I had him in to record with my band many years ago on like our demo EP type thing. He kindly said he would come and guest on it. And watching him go through the vocal warm up, listening to his vocals like on its own, totally opened my eyes to analyzing that kind of like, because before screaming was kind of just scream down the microphone. There's no no talent to it. Just don't blow your voice.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually hearing it like on its own, isolated, and hearing the kind of what I thought was the soul of it, and it had its own rhythm, it had its own style, it had its own like it wasn't just a high pitched voice. There was something there that kind of made it tuneful, and that's why it worked with the music.
I completely agree. It's very. It's definitely its own style, and it's not very digestible at first, but not to sound arrogant or big-headed or anything like that, but I think that metal vocals, especially like a lot of the screaming styles, are really up there with styles of singing like opera. As far as being able to do it and do it well. It takes so much practice. I started off in more of like a classical kind of realm of singing, with things like opera and choir and things like that, and then kind of moved more into like jazz standards, and then finally settled into the pocket of like extreme music and screaming and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the same techniques that you use as a vocalist in styles like opera and choir are utilized by death metal and all those kinds of screaming, because you were right. It is very important not to blow your voice, and it's really easy to do so if you're not utilizing proper singing techniques. So definitely, finding that appreciation for it is rare, but it's really eye opening, like you said, when it's when that appreciation is found.
Yes, that's exactly what it was for me. It was just, it totally changed my perspective on that style of music. So cool. So another question: what are your hobbies away from the music? What do you do when you're not in the bands you're in?
I love. I'm a big video game guy. I'm basically just a giant nerd.
Nice. That's all good. We all love video games. So
yes. I've been playing. I'm a big RPG kind of guy.
Nice.
Role playing games. I've been looking very much forward to the new Final Fantasy game coming out. Have been playing the latest Star Ocean game to kind of satiate the need, as well as Overwatch here and there to kind of stay up to date with what's relevant in the gaming community.
Yeah.
I love. I'm a big anime fan. I have a Pokemon and a Dragon Ball tattooed on me.
Nice.
So those are big things that I'm into. I've been watching the new Dragon Ball series, Dragon Ball Super, recently.
Nice.
Yeah, TVs and movie are also, or just film in general, are also really big, things that I enjoy spending my time on, analyzing and
cool.
and watching.
Any recommendations on that front?
Yeah, totally. I've been watching HBO's new series, The Night Of. That's about 7 episodes into the first season. I think it might be a limited series, so I don't know if they're going to do another season after this one, but it's really good. John Turturro, the guy who plays the Jesus in The Big Lebowski.
Yes.
He is he's a main character in that show, and it's really cool seeing his he's a really solid actor. He's got great chops.
No, he's a very good actor. Yeah.
Yeah. So seeing him, kind of spread his wings in this series is really cool.
Cool.
Kind of plays like a New York attorney with a heart of gold, like public defender with a moral compass kind of thing. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
I actually learned something super interesting. So James Gandolfini from The Sopranos is listed as a executive producer for that show, but he's been dead for 3 years.
Yeah.
So when I looked into it, I guess this whole show was like a passion project of his that he it's based off of an English series called Criminal Justice.
Okay. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, and it's so it's like kind of an American interpretation of that James Gandolfini wanted to do, and originally he was supposed to play the role that John Turturro plays. So it's pretty cool, like watching it with that in mind, being like, how would James Gandolfini play this part? Yeah. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That's kind of nice, because I'm seeing a lot of these, obviously being from England myself, a lot of these shows being reinterpreted here, whereas before they kind of did it with a couple of our comedies and did quite a poor job of it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And then they started improving, like The Office. They kind of copied for a couple of seasons, and then they came into their own. But listening to that the night of, I didn't realize it was linked with Criminal Justice in that way. It's kind of like House of Cards. Right. Was kind of linked with the House of Cards, the book and the TV show in the UK. Obviously, they reinterpreted it for US presidency and things like that. So.
Right.
But no, I'll check that one out, because I've seen the adverts for it, but I just haven't sat down and really watched anything recently that kind of,
Take a day, man. Binge on it. There's 7 episodes out so far, and they're still airing every Sunday, and they're awesome. Cool.
I'll check it. I've got the on-demand service, so I'll check that out. So,
awesome.
Any other movies or anything?
Nothing really. I still have not gone out and seen Suicide Squad, and as a purveyor of all things nerdy, I'm scared of the disappointment. I don't want it to be as awful as everyone says it is, so I'm still kind of like building up the mental and emotional fortitude to go see that movie.
Did you see any of their previous movies that they've put out, like the Batman Superman movie and things like that?
I did, and the way I feel about Zack Snyder as a director in general is that he generally focuses in on one character, and that character is absolutely phenomenal, and the rest of the movie is just kind of lackluster. Mm-hmm. In the first Superman movie, in Man of Steel, that character was General Zod, played by Michael Shannon. Yeah, he was absolutely incredible. He was like, the pulse of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it was just kind of like, oh, behold the marvel that is Henry Cavill's eyebrows. That kind of carried on into the Dawn of Justice. But Ben Affleck, I felt like his performance was stellar. It was so good.
Yeah.
The Martha thing was kind of silly.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
The safety word moment.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed Batman versus Superman. I saw it in the cinema. I went to go see Suicide Squad, and I enjoyed that as well. Again, there are focuses on certain characters because there's money in those characters. So
exactly.
But no, I thought it was good. I mean, I'm not sure if it's not. They're going in a very different direction than Marvel have.
Oh yeah,
which
I like.
Yeah, with their team movies, it's still dark. It's got some very kind of dark moments in it as well as like there's some comic relief here and there. But I went into that movie expecting nothing. Well, not nothing, but not expecting the world. I was hyped to see some of these characters come to life, like characters that hadn't been done before, kind of like deep cut characters from the comic books and stuff. And I enjoyed it. I try and ignore critics to a point, just purely because I used to work in a video store, and so I used to watch movies all the time, good, bad, and I found some great movies that got absolutely panned, that I probably would never seen if I'd read, if I'd listened to what Empire or Empire Magazine or whatever had been sort of telling me at the time. So from that point, I kind of I now go to the cinema with how people used to go to the cinema, in as much as the marvel of seeing something on a huge screen and the experience of it.
Yeah. Which is important for a lot of movies. It's definitely that experience in and of itself can make a bad movie great.
Mm-hmm.
No, so it's definitely important.
Yeah, because a movie they don't always translate from the cinema to the small screen.
No, not so much. And
I found that with I went to go see Birdman when it came out a few years ago.
Right.
Absolutely in the cinema. I was the only one in there. That was great fun itself. But like watching that film on a cinema screen with the surround sound and everything was fantastic. I sat down to watch it with my wife, and it didn't feel the same. I didn't have the same experience watching it. And my wife said, "This is really boring." And, and I was like, "This is a great film." I came out the cinema saying that would win an Oscar.
It did, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it did. It won a couple. Yeah. And I came out and I said Michael Keaton was great, Ed Norton was great, and it was just like I was totally hyped on this film. It got to the screen, the small screen here, and it just didn't have the same impact. And I was like, oh, yeah, damn it,
yeah. That loss in translation is definitely prevalent in too many good movies, unfortunately.
No, and these superhero movies kind of need to be seen on these big screens.
Oh yeah,
being immersed
in the bangs and whistles are definitely a lot more, in your face. That great sub drop, the that you get in so many pre-explosion moments is just so much more impacting on the big screen.
And just being consumed with a huge action sequence, your whole eye is kind of just being. Yeah. You don't know. You can only really look straight ahead, but there's so much stuff going on.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I reckon I'd go see Suicide Squad. I don't think you'll be too disappointed with it.
Okay.
You'll find
I should catch it while it's still in theaters for sure.
Yeah. I think that needs to be part of the experience. So
yeah.
Cool. So finally, one last question: where can people reach you guys? Where's a good place to follow you or find out?
Anywhere on the internet, your standard social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We definitely have the biggest following on Facebook, so that's always a good place to start.
Cool. Well, thank you, Riley. It's been a pleasure chatting to you today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Good luck with the album, which is out on the 23rd of September via Metal Blade. It'll be available by all good stockists online and offline, I assume.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, good luck with it, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for listening to that, guys. I really appreciate it. So if you've made it this far, I'm just going to give another plug for my new radio show. It is called DJ Force X in Conversation, and it's going to be on TotalRock.com every Sunday. The first show is going to be on Sunday, the 11th of September, and that's going to be with Lee Wild from Servers and JP from Keychain, and it's also going to be accompanied by a bunch of tracks from their releases. So and coming up after that, I'm going to have a whole bunch of other interviews, start doing things like competitions and all that kind of good stuff. But please tune in on Sunday, the 11th of September. If you cannot make that, it repeats on Fridays. So the Friday following that is going to be at 11 a.m. on the 16th. And it's also followed by Crossing the Streams as well, which is my other show. So I hope you enjoy it. Please send me feedback. The good old 5-star feedback on iTunes, on Stitcher, and all that kind of stuff. And even on Total Rock, send an email in. Say you enjoyed the show. Do all that kind of good stuff just to help me get more interviews, get more coverage for it, because I really want to help these bands that I interview. I'm not just doing it for the sake of it, because, you know, I do it for the passion of music. I love music. I want to help bands out. This was a resource for me when I was in a band. As you've heard many times on my podcast, I always seem to drop it. I try and not do it, but I'm quite proud of what I did in that band. So, you know, kind of screw that. But yeah, please just try and help me out, help them out. We can get bigger, we can get better, we can get stronger. I can dedicate more time to it if it can actually allow me to. Because right now it's my days off. You know, I do the usual stuff on my day off, but I want this to become something that I can, you know, have it work on its own, because it's starting to need a bit of funding here and there just to get stuff going. Like I mentioned at the start of the podcast with the music side of things, I really want to play other people's music on this show. I've got my own music, those interludes and everything I made myself, so they're kind of copyright free on that fact, so I'm not gaining anything. I'm not trying to license anyone's music illegally, but I want to get that license in order to help me promote these bands, because it's all great and fine and talking about it, which is a great way of kind of getting to know the musician, but actually hearing the music, because if you dig the music, it doesn't matter what they say in the interview. It's the music that really brings you in. And I really want to showcase some of that. Obviously, I can do that on the radio because the licensing is there for that. The artists get paid when I play their music. And that's the main thing. That's what I want. Because in the day of streaming, the artist needs as much income as possible in order to create this art form. And obviously, not a lot of them are in it for the money, but if they can maintain it, and if it can maintain itself, then that's the key. That's the goal for them. You know, it's not all about bitches and guns. Sometimes, you know, the money does come into it. It's a dirty word in some of the industry, but, you know, you need to grease the wheels, if you will. And if you want to make a career out of it, that's what you've kind of got to get out of it. So that will kind of help them, help me on that front. So anyone's got any suggestions, let me know. I'm at info@DJForceX, or I'm at DJForceX on Twitter and Facebook. I reply to all the messages sent to me, so please do. Anyway, this is me signing off right now. So until next time, this is DJ Force X out.